What is up, best ones worldwide? It's the best one, DBTV here, back with a brand new Brooklyn Nets video. If you're not a best one yet already and you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, recommend you to hit that subscribe button now, turn on the post notifications, because of course you already know the grind is real. And I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on what the Brooklyn Nets should do this upcoming offseason. So, let's get it. This offseason for the Brooklyn Nets in the 2023-2024 season is going to be very interesting. And that's why I decided to make this video now, just to look back in the summertime when, the Brooklyn Nets and every other team is out there making moves for upcoming free agents. With, the draft coming up, we don't even know who has the number one pick for, Victor. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens this upcoming offseason. And as I'm recording this video, we got swept by the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round yesterday. And I figured, why not give you guys my thoughts on what the Brooklyn Nets should do this offseason? What should be the game plan for this team who had, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden at one point? What should this team do to, become future NBA world champions? And I, want to give you guys my thoughts because I know a lot of Brooklyn Net fans out there want Damian Lillard to join this team, and they want us to trade, all the assets that we acquired in the Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving trades, at the deadline, and, turn those, assets into win now for a guy like Damian Lillard. And a lot of these rumors are coming up because in a recent interview, Damian Lillard pretty much said that Mikal Bridges is one of his favorite players to watch in the NBA right now. So there's a lot of Portland Trailblazer fans who want Mikal Bridges in a Portland uniform, and there's a lot of Brooklyn Net fans that want Damian Lillard in a Nets uniform. And the rumors, started to speculate a little bit more at game 3 or 4, the game that Damian Lillard showed up to during, the Nets versus Sixers first round series. And there was even a video that surfaced of Mikal Bridges and Damian Lillard partying in a hotel room after Game 3. So there's a lot of rumors going around about Damian Lillard to the Brooklyn Nets. And if I was Sean Marks, I would not try to get Damian Lillard on this team. As much as I love Damian Lillard's game, he's one of my favorite point guards in the league. I just think that the Brooklyn Nets, we tried to do the win now thing. We blew up a great team in 2019 with D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and of course the GOAT, Jared Dudley. We had a great culture in Brooklyn, and the chemistry was at an all-time high. But the Brooklyn Nets had an opportunity that they thought they were never going to get since the Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce trade by, getting a superstar like Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Because Kyrie Irving wanted to come play for his home team, and Kevin Durant wanted to play with Kyrie Irving. And that's when, they decided to wear a Brooklyn Nets uniform. And it was an opportunity that, at the time, the Brooklyn Nets were waiting for, and they decided to pull the trigger on it, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for any of us. We even tried, trading some of those assets like Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, to, get James Harden to form a big three, which they only ended up playing 17 games together. And it was one of the biggest what-ifs in the NBA. And, this past season, the Brooklyn Nets ended up trading both our superstars, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Kyrie to the Dallas Mavericks and Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns. And I just don't think that the Brooklyn Nets are going to go anywhere if we sign Damian Lillard. Because look at Damian Lillard right now with the Portland Trail Blazers. It's literally Damian Lillard and a bunch of decent role players. And it's not even enough for them to even get into the play-in the Western Conference. I think the Brooklyn Nets, we need to go in a full rebuild mode. I know it's not a popular opinion, but I'm going to give you guys why I think that the Brooklyn Nets should take this direction instead of a win now. When we had this team in 2018, 2019, the Brooklyn Nets had no assets whatsoever. Sean Marks took a job from Billy King with no draft picks, and our best players were Brook Lopez and Thaddeus Young. That's the cold-hearted truth. And probably a reason why Sean Marks does have a special place in my heart, and I think that, he gets a lot of criticism because he is the GM of this team. He was the one that made the trades. But I think a lot of these issues with the Brooklyn Nets have to do with our owner, who's going on Twitter, saying the stupidest things and pretty much trying to do Sean Marks' job. And you have to give credit where it's due. In this rebuild with the Brooklyn Nets, Sean Marks did do a fantastic job. Getting underrated gems like Joe Harris at the time, who, was doing really good until now. I don't know what happened to him. We also got, a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie in the process as well, when he was actually really good, which I don't even know what happened to Dinwiddie either. And we also got, D'Angelo Russell in the process. He was an all-star, had the best season in Brooklyn. And we had a really good culture. We drafted some underrated guys in the late first round, like Jared Allen and Karis LeVert. And this team was doing a fantastic job. We built a culture in Brooklyn. And that's why I think the Brooklyn Nets haven't really done anything since then. And I even expressed my frustrations when we traded James Harden for James Harden, because Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, in the NBA today, yes, you need superstars, but big threes, they don't really work in today's NBA. We saw it with the Los Angeles Lakers. They had Russell Westbrook, LeBron, and Anthony Davis, and it didn't work out. But now the Lakers are striving because now they have two superstars, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and a bunch of solid role players. And this is how the NBA is going in today's direction. It's more about the 15 guys that are on your team than the superstars. That is how you win championships. A lot of people, talk about the Warriors being a dynasty. And a lot of people, credit them for, having Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. But there's a lot of underrated role players that the Warriors have had on these dynasty teams that have really helped them, win NBA rings. And the Brooklyn Nets, a win now, getting Damian Lillard and pairing him up with Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, that's not going to help us win. If anything, that's going to probably bring us into the play-in, and we're probably going to get swept by the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. Or we can win a game maybe, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Brooklyn Nets, we need to, go in full rebuild mode and do what the Boston Celtics did when, they traded for Isaiah Thomas and, Jay Crowder. We need to, have really no expectations on this team and just let the boys hoop and see what we can do from there. Because, the Nets in a rebuild with Sean Marks, I think definitely can make some noise. I think if we never did the Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving signing, that free agency, I think that the Brooklyn Nets, in probably this time, would probably be maybe the third, second, or even the first seed in the Eastern Conference. Because the way the NBA is going right now, it's about a superstar and role players that are around them. There's a reason why the Sacramento Kings are doing so good. There's a reason why the Milwaukee Bucks are doing so good. There's a reason why the Memphis Grizzlies are doing so good. And a lot of it has to do with draft picks, getting a lot of great, role players on their teams, and, making some underrated trades and underrated signings, focusing on the positions and what they need. And that's something, with the Sacramento Kings, they got a lot of criticism when they decided to trade, Halliburton for Sabonis last season. A lot of people did not like that trade at all. The Sacramento Kings are being the Sacramento Kings again, and they got a lot of criticism for it, but Then, they go on to having one of the best seasons in the NBA, and they're in the playoffs for the first time since 2006. And they even got a lot of criticism for drafting Keegan Murray with the 4th pick when there were still, some better players on the board. But what the Kings did was they went after a player that they needed. What Keegan Murray brings to that team is what they needed for, De'Aaron Fox and, Sabonis. And they've done a fantastic job since. And that's what the Brooklyn Nets really need to do, guys. We need to go into a rebuild mode and build around Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges is still very young. He showed lots of promise, since coming to the Brooklyn Nets, averaging over 25 points per game. I think, another guy that we need to bring back is Cam Johnson. He also showed a lot of upside this season in the trade. And him and Mikal, they have great chemistry going all the way back to the Phoenix Suns. Two guys that, will go hard and give it their all every single night when they're on the court playing. We need to just let go of Dinwiddie, let him go to another team and go shit on them. Because if Dinwiddie's head was not focused on fucking Kyle Kuzma this series, we probably could have gotten one game out of it. Ben Simmons. What should the Brooklyn Nets do with Ben Simmons? Because, of course, Ben Simmons has been, a shadow of his former self. He has not been, the all-star player that we thought we were going to get in the trade deadline. A lot of people thought that he just needed a new scenery to get better. But Ben Simmons, has been dealing with some back issues and a lot of mental health issues, which, mental health, I think, in this world is really not taken that serious enough. And unfortunately, Ben Simmons gets, criticized all over the place because of, things that are going on mentally for him. And I did hear, a report that so far in rehab, things are looking very good for Ben Simmons, and they expect him to, come back to all-star form, which really scares me that we're already putting that pressure on Ben Simmons, because somebody like myself who deals with mental health problems, that's not good for Ben Simmons. And I think, with what the Brooklyn Nets need to do with Simmons, as much as I was very disappointed in him this season, we need to let him play a full season next season, see what he can do. If he comes back to his, former all-star self, maybe this team can make a run in the play-in, or, maybe win a couple games against the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round. Or we can trade Ben Simmons. Maybe, his contract, somebody will take it on because he's, back to his former self, and get more assets to rebuild this team. There's a lot of ways that this team can go. I think Nicholas Claxton, he's another guy that the Brooklyn Nets need to keep. We've had so many promising big men on the Brooklyn Nets like Brook Lopez and Jared Allen. And I think that we cannot afford to lose Nicholas Claxton. He's very young, on a very good contract, and I believe, he could be a great piece in this rebuild and the culture for the Brooklyn Nets. But I do think that we really do need to move on from a lot of players on this team. I think that, Seth Curry, he deserves to go to a contender. Patty Mills, I feel like he's either going to retire or go to a contender. I think that, Yuta Watanabe, he's going to be an upcoming free agent, and I think that he's going to go sign for a contender, kind of like what Bruce Brown did. He signed with the Denver Nuggets last offseason, and he's been a solid role player for them. And I think Yuta Watanabe looked really good in the beginning of the season, showed lots of promise under Kevin Durant. I won't be surprised if the Phoenix Suns actually sign Watanabe. And I could see Watanabe being a solid role player on a championship contending team. He showed that he could do it when we went on that crazy run this season. I think that, we need to, do some solid draft picking. I don't know who we need to select, but we need to select somebody good, a good solid role player, or even, that potential superstar that can lead this Brooklyn Nets team for the next, 10 to 15 years. We need to stop looking at short term, and we need to start looking at long term with this team. And I think that long term, the only way that we're going to win a championship and get back to where we should be is when, our owner of the team sells this team. And I know a lot of people don't really like our head coach. I like the energy that he brings. And I want to give him a full season to see what he can do with a rebuilding Brooklyn Nets team. I think that, Cam Thomas, somebody I would love the team to use more. But I think, one thing that's going to happen, unfortunately, and I hope this doesn't happen, Cam Thomas is going to request a trade out of Brooklyn this offseason. There's no way in hell this guy is happy on this team. We only played the man for 11 minutes, and he actually did good in those 11 minutes. Then we sent him out for Joe Harris, who just, hasn't really done anything since, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving came to the Brooklyn Nets. He just hasn't been the same since, that special Brooklyn team in 2019. There's a lot of, things that are going to happen, and Cam Thomas leaving, I think, sadly, is going to happen. Our coach, clearly doesn't care about him. Sean Marks doesn't care about him. Cam Thomas, I think, is going to end up getting traded probably for a future first-round pick or a bag of chips to, a team like maybe the Detroit Pistons, or a team that's not really contending for a title, but in a rebuilding team, and give them a solid 20 points per game and help them take their team to the next level. I could see the Charlotte Hornets being a perfect team for a guy like Cam Thomas. He'd be able to play with LaMelo Ball. He would be able to, play with maybe Brandon Miller or, Scoot. There's a lot of, the Hornets have a chance here of getting the number 1 pick even. He could be playing with Victor. And a team like the Hornets, they would love to have a guy like Cam Thomas on their team. And you don't have to really give up your whole team to get a guy like Cam. He's somebody that the Brooklyn Nets are really not utilizing. And I just don't see Cam Thomas staying on this team with the lack of playing. He's shown that he can be a lethal scorer in the NBA. And teams that have solid defenses, they're going to look at that and they're going to want to pull the trigger on a trade to make Cam Thomas happen. Because I think on a championship level team, Cam Thomas could be the 3rd best option. Seriously. And I just think overall, the Brooklyn Nets, we just, need to reset. We need to see what Ben Simmons can do. Let him get that trade value up. We need to keep Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. Sign Cam Johnson back. Please do not friggin' re-sign Spencer Dinwiddie. And I think that the Brooklyn Nets, they're just going to have to, do the low-risk, high-reward type of thing. Because the thing is, the Brooklyn Nets can't really go into a full rebuild because the Houston Rockets, they still have our picks from that James Harden trade. So the Nets are going to have to keep competing like they had to do, years ago when we didn't have any draft picks. I think that, the Brooklyn Nets, realistically, were probably going to not really do much in free agency. I don't think a lot of players are going to want to join this team because of all the front office drama. And I think realistically, we're going to be a play-in team at best next season. But guys, let me know in the comment section below what you guys would want the Brooklyn Nets to do this offseason. Do you agree with some of my takes? Let me know. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button now. If you're not a best one yet already, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow me on my social medias and other YouTube pages, all that down below. In addition, if you love wrestling, go subscribe to We Are Wrestling. If you want to go check out my personal channel where I'll be posting vlogs and, Nickelodeon reactions and wrestling figure unboxings and reviews, go check out Best One Donnie. All the links down below. But, of course, to all the best ones out there worldwide, we are taking over. Peace.
I hope you're ready for the comeback. Steve Nash, I'm about to bring the sun back.